idea for a design to get started on this project. On the right side of my screen is my original sketch of my idea. I then use Sharpie to create a balance between positive and negative space. This medium, Linocut, doesn't work well with sketchy lines or different values. You need to have your design split into negative and positive space, or black and white. Here is an image of my completed print and my design side by side. Notice how the print is reversed. Your original design will be reversed when you print it. If you have a design that won't work if reversed, for example text, you'll need to reverse it before transferring it to your block. Here's how. First, scan your design. I used an app on my phone. Then you can use the preview app on every Mac. Open the design, click on Tools, and then choose Reverse Horizontal. Yay! You can now print it to use for transfer. I've skipped this step on my prints as I don't mind the reverse image. Here's what you'll need for the transfer and carving stages. A block of linoleum the same size as your design. Your completed design, reversed if needed. A wooden pencil, a mechanical pencil won't work for this. An assortment of Sharpie markers of different sizes. A wooden shelf to hook over the edge of the table in order to hold your linoleum block in place while you're carving. A handle to hold all of your different size gouges. These are used for carving off pieces of the linoleum block. And a small X-Acto knife. Begin transferring your image to the block by shading the back of the design using your wooden pencil. Place the design face up on the block and hold it in place. You may want to tape it. And then using pencil, pen also works, trace the design. You will be left with a faint outline on your block. All done. As you can see, the outline is faint and it can be smudged easily, so I like to go over it with a Sharpie. This takes a long time, but it's worth it. It's important to know exactly what is going to be carved off and what will stay. Once you carve something off, it's nearly impossible to put it back on. I will be leaving the black areas and I will be carving away the gray areas. If you've made a mistake with your Sharpie marker, hey, no one's perfect. You can use a silver Sharpie to correct it. As I said before, it's important that you're totally clear on what you're carving and what you're not carving. And now I am finally ready to begin carving. I am going to begin the carving process with my small X-Acto knife. What I will do is cut around the edges of the design using the knife. This will allow me to have a cleaner edge when I begin using the gouges to carve. I will start with a number 5 gouge for large areas and work my way to a number 1 for the smaller details. Anytime I need a cleaner edge, I'll use the X-Acto knife again. Tiny details like the face will require extra time and care. Remember when you're carving to make sure that your fingers stay out of the way of the blade and you're always carving away from your body. And here's my completed carved block. I am ready to print now. First, I'll need to prep some paper the size of my design, as well as make a registration template. I've traced my block onto a paper so that I know where to place it when printing. This is my registration template. I'm now using this as a guide to cut several sheets of paper to the correct size. I'm attempting to get about 3 to 5 clean prints for my edition, so I've cut 8 to 10 sheets of paper. In order to print, you will need your registration template, a spoon to burnish the back of your block, your prepared paper, plus a piece of scrap paper to proof your print, your carved block, a brayer, plexiglass and butter knives, and a special kind of ink for block printing. I'm starting out by spreading and mixing my ink onto my plexiglass. Now I'll use the brayer in order to ink my block. I am trying to ensure that all the areas get a good coat of ink. Some of the little areas outside of my design did get ink, and they shouldn't have. This will cause little blotches outside of my design when I print. What I could do is I could go back and carve these parts lower, or I could wipe them off while printing. Since I'm just proofing my print now, I will leave them. Now I'll place the block onto the registration template, place my scrap paper on top, and burnish with a spoon. The purpose of proofing your print is so that you can check the final result. If anything looks different than you intended, you can wash off your block and you can continue carving. You can also look for problem areas that maybe didn't get enough ink or that need extra amounts of burnishing. I'm happy with the result, so I'm going to move forward with printing. You're basically going to repeat the whole process again. This time I will use a paper towel to wipe off the areas of the block that should not have ink. This time around, I will also use the perfectly cut paper that I've prepared. I will line up the edges of my paper with the edges of my registration template in order to make sure that my design is centered on my paper. Throughout this whole process, I'm checking my prints in order to find any problem areas that could have used more ink or more burnishing. If you want to print your design in a different color, you can wash off your block and your plexiglass and mix a new color. You should ensure that your block gets some time to dry before you begin inking with the new color. Now I'm done printing for now. After cleaning up my plexiglass and my block, I'm going to look over my prints to see which ones are the cleanest and most consistent. After looking really closely at all of my dark brown prints, it seems like they're all really blurry. I think the brown ink was just not cooperating with me today. As a result, I don't think I'll include any of them in my edition. I can use these discard prints later to make a collage or sketchbook page, or I could add in some mixed media techniques later on. Don't throw them out. Out of the images printed in pink, I will select 3 that look the most clean and consistent. Once I've chosen my 3, I will number and sign them. The edition or set of prints includes 3 prints, so I will write 1 out of 3 or 1/3 on the left side. I write the title in the middle, and then I write my signature on the right side. I repeat this for all 3 prints. And that's it! I hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching!